this is our presentation. My name is Ted Jensen. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but you'll be getting to know me. As Rich pointed out, we do have exits at the top of the stairs. They do go to a common area and then outside. And that's important to be announced before any presentation in an assembly use. This is also a fire alarmed facility. There is no sprinklers in this section. If you hear the fire alarm, same situation goes. We leave at the exits. All right, what I'm going to be covering today is very, very brief synopsis. It's a 45, well, I'm going to be taking up about 40 minutes. And this presentation in its whole entirety takes about 45 hours. So it's going to be a quick move through things. Now, before we get into it too deep, I have to have you understand a few things. This is not going to be all inclusive. It's going to be a brief overview. Next, codes are reactive and proactive. They're reactive because something happened and they make changes in codes so that people become safer, building products are better, and everybody goes home alive. Their focus has always been on life safety. Life safety is the main key focus, and economy, building things better, quicker, easier. As you can see here, we have building codes which control the construction of the building and how it's built. Fire and life safety codes are basically the same thing. In that, we have a requirement for crowd managers. Zoning takes into play where your location is, whether or not you can have it in that particular location. In order to understand why the codes are what they are, you have to understand the history of where the codes came from. Let's talk a little bit about history in America. Anybody recognize this hotel? The MGM Grand Hotel. 85 people died in that hotel because of a fire caused by, anybody here have a compressor on their refrigerator in their restaurant? I think everybody does. It was improperly wired. The casino did not have a sprinkler system. Most of the people in there died of smoke inhalation. This was the second worst fire in U.S. history. Once again, exposed vertical openings caused the fire to contribute all the way up. What happens is a vertical, this is horizontal, this is vertical. So we have a shaft that goes all the way up through the building. There was holes in that shaft. Fire started down here, the fire went up that shaft and came out on the 6th floor, the 9th floor. Now we've got fire all over the place. But what killed the most people was the carbon monoxide. Theater fires. We've had some very, very serious theater fires. 1903, the Iroquois fire in Chicago. Chicago seems to have fires, right? We all do. 600 people died. Many of the survivors were disabled because of the effects of the fire. Burns, smoke inhalation. This happened because canvas on the backdrop of a scenery was too close to a light, a stage light. Anybody here use stage lights? They get pretty hot. So, you got to keep those away from things that can burn. This is what it looked like afterwards. It was at one point of life a very beautiful auditorium. It was the worst theater fire in U.S. history. And what happened here, the fire started on the stage. The actors went one direction, the patrons went the other direction. When the actors went out that back door of the stage, which is very huge, they flung the doors open and let enough air come in. Turned it into a big fireball. There were no fire alarms in there. These are some of the developments that came through from code. As I said, code is reactive. When something happens, they react to the change. Nightclub fires. Any nightclub owners here? I'm sure there are. Coconut Grove, another good fire, if there is one. 492 people died, and that cause was a cigarette next to combustible decorations and furnishings. One of the worst, it was actually the worst nightclub fire. The place was actually filled twice to its capacity. Can you imagine what it was like to try to get out of that place when it was that full? You're so squeezed, you're trying to shuffle along. The club was destroyed within 12 to 15 minutes. Most people don't understand fire grows very quickly, very large, very quickly. It'll start out as a flame about the size of a big lighter, and it doubles in size every 30 seconds. So it goes twice as big, 4 times as big, 16, 32 times, 64 times. Every 30 seconds it doubles. Developments that came out of there are pretty obvious. You got to keep your exits clear, more assembly occupancies, having emergency lighting. All of these things are contributing to today's codes. That's the Beverly Hills Supper Club. Anybody here remember that one? Okay. 165 people died. Aluminum wiring. It was all the rage back in the 70s because it was less expensive to make. That's what caused it. But that place had no fire alarm system and no sprinkler system. When you have a large group of people together, it takes them a while to get out. So you have to be able to protect them. Give them a little bit extra time with early notification and early suppression. The sprinkler system will contain your fire and keep it from spreading and give you more time to get out. The biggest cause of death was panic. When everybody tried to leave that place because it was overcrowded, they couldn't get out, they panicked. Panic kills people by crushing. These are some of the changes that came about. Anybody recognize this one? This one was more recently. This has been in the last few years. This is the E2 Club in Chicago. 21 people died and 50 people got injured, but there was no emergency in the building. All it was there was a fight that broke out on a dance floor, and one of the security guards took their pepper spray and sprayed it, and everybody thought that it was a gas release, so they tried to panic and run out of the building. People did not know that there was more than one exit. We are creatures of habit. We come in one door, we go out one door, and that's exactly where we're going to go. The people were stacked up like cordwood as they fell down the stairs. Later on, the city condemned the use of that second floor because of the way it was. This one also had chains on the secondary exit door going out because it was a security risk. They didn't want people breaking in. But they forgot to take the chains off. This one should look familiar to most people. The station fire in Rhode Island, 100 people died. 230 people were injured. Pyrotechnics. It's a regulated thing for indoor use. Both the last two, this fire and the last fire, we had incidents here in Grand Rapids that were stopped before it got to this point. There was no sprinkler system, panic in the station. Okay, is everybody familiar with the Station nightclub fire? Yes? No? Okay, Station nightclub fire, Great White was there doing a concert. The owner, the manager, did not ask for permission for them to have pyrotechnic use inside that building. Because he had bands, he put up foam on the backside of the band stage so that the sound would sound better to the audience and muffle the sound in the back. He didn't check the interior finish requirements for assembly uses. Interior finish means what you put on the walls. Not the paint you put on the walls, the cloth, the other materials that you put on the walls. It has to be of so much of a flame spread and smoke development rating because, once again, you have a large group of people that you want to get out in as fast and safely as possible. But it has to burn slow enough so that it gives them more time. And the smoke development, for which most of these fires, most fires, people die before the fire even gets to them. They die of smoke inhalation, which is carbon monoxide, cyanide, anybody hear cyanide? Arsenic. Both of those are pretty deadly. The temperature of a fire at the ceiling is 11 to 1400 degrees. At the floor is 650 plus. I mean, we cook a turkey at 350, right? So the floor temperature is, are you ready? Okay. We'll play the video now.